Hello everyone and welcome back to YPAC. Today we're talking about California Senate primary results from last Tuesday's Super Tuesday elections. Today's video is going to be a shorter one since we're only talking about the singular election, but let's get right into it. So if you haven't been keeping up with this race, this is a pretty historical race. Senator Dianne Feinstein had this seat from 1992 up till her death in 2023. May she rest in peace. And so it was pretty historic for Californian voters to get this opportunity to vote for a person who's going to be representing them in the United States Senate and probably for the next couple decades, depending on how old the candidate that they voted in was going to be. Also, there are two seats two elections with the Senate. There's the partial term to take up LaFonza Butler's seat until January of 2025. LaFonza Butler is who Gavin Newsom nominated to take over Dianne Feinstein's seat before there was an election. So one person would take over the rest of her term for a little bit, and then the other one would begin their full term after January of 2025. So those are two election results. And the main contenders that we had for this, there are a lot of candidates, obviously, that went to this race, but there were four main ones. Adam Schiff, Steve Garvey, Katie Porter, and Barbara Lee. So Schiff, Porter, and Lee are all House Democrats. Steve Garvey is a former professional baseball player for the LA Dodgers and the San Diego team. And then the main things to know about Adam Schiff, Porter, and Lee is that, first of all, Lee is a very, very progressive Democrat. She was the sole vote against the war in Iraq in the early 2000s. Katie Porter is additionally very progressive. One of her sole endorsements from the Congress was from Senator Elizabeth Warren, and if you know her, she's also very progressive. They're pretty much aligned on a lot of things, and she's mostly known for going after big corporations and lobbyists in DC, like Big Pharma. And then Adam Schiff is one of the main voices Democratic voices on the Dems leadership status in the House. He was censured back in June because of his, he had a position in one of the committees that went after Donald Trump. And so, yes, he's one of the main top Democrats in the House. So as you can see by these election results, and also these election results, Adam Schiff and Steve Garvey won by pretty large percentage points. Katie Porter was miles away from them. But Adam Schiff, and this is the full term, mind you, this is the full term, Adam Schiff won 32.2% and Steve Garvey won 31.7%, which this was somewhat surprising for people to see that Steve Garvey pulled in second place and him being a Republican, and he won this massive amount of voter turnout, but we'll get to why that isn't as surprising later on. But one thing to note is that for the partial term, Steve Garvey actually won this race. But again, I don't think that this is too much to pay attention to or be worried about if you're a Democrat in California. So yeah, but getting into the actual thing. So when you look at this, you may think that, wow, California is a very progressive and democratic state. How in the world does Steve Garvey, a Republican, get this high of a percentage and go with Adam Schiff into the primary? So a couple things to keep note of, actually, are, first of all, Adam Schiff spent a lot of money propping up Garvey's voice because he would have had a much tougher time beating Katie Porter because it's two Democrats running against each other. And then California voters would have had to spend more time researching about these candidates, seeing which one of these candidates, went more to their side. And Adam Schiff still probably would have won because the more independents or Republicans would probably vote for him over Katie Porter since she's much more progressive. But still, it's much easier for him as a Democrat to win against a Republican in the state. And so his campaign spent millions of dollars propping up Steve Garvey, putting down Katie Porter, who was his main contender. And then Barbara Lee really didn't have, wasn't much of a threat to him. And if we look, again, this 31.6%, even though it seems really shocking to be this close to the Democrat in California, it's really not that shocking when we look at, prior election results. So in California, Trump got 34.3% of the vote. And this is pretty much seen a lot of states, pretty much all states that are very, solid blue or solid red. They still get about a third. If you look at, Alabama, for example, again, that's almost the same, but flipped, obviously. If you go Arkansas, same thing. Wyoming or Montana. Well, Montana is a bit different, but Wyoming, see, same thing. New York, same thing. It's always around a third that's given to the opposing side of the, state or party to which that state is solid. So it's not that surprising to have Steve Garvey win a third of this vote. So I don't think that should be anything that Democrats are too concerned about, and anything that Republicans should be too optimistic about Steve Garvey, even though his speech afterwards seemed very optimistic and, looking forward to November. He's still not going to win. It's hard to break it to all of you who thought that he was going to win, but obviously all of these, and Adam Schiff, keep in mind, he is the most middle of the road candidate here. Katie Porter and Barbara Lee are both to his left, Lee more so. And so all of these votes are going to translate to Adam Schiff. And we might see them not even turn out to vote, but still, even if they don't turn out, he's still going to win with this. And obviously, most of these people are going to be, their votes transferred to Adam Schiff because most of them are going to be Democrats. So again, these votes shifted over to Adam Schiff. Also, in a primary election, there's much less or smaller turnout than there is in a general election. So again, more people showing up to the polls, more probably Democrats showing up to the polls, because when you had like so much propping up of Steve Garvey, mostly from Adam Schiff's campaign. Most of that money came from Adam Schiff, but his name getting out there and a lot of name recognition for him. Republicans have more of a sense of hope that he might win, that there might be a Republican representing them. So they probably showed up to vote in larger numbers than did Democrats. But in a primary election or in general election, there's going to be much more Democrats. So expect this to again go and resemble the 2020 election results or any election results from states that are very solidly red or blue. So expect this to be more 66 and 33 by the time that rolls around. And then again, I don't think that the partial term is anything to really be concerned about in any way, shape, or form. If you're a Democrat, and again, I think to be optimistic about, if you're a Republican, I don't think that this says that much. I think this may have also confused a lot of voters, seeing that there were like two races, both for the U.S. Senate, both for, people that seem to be like have a lot of overlap. But yeah, don't take this too much into consideration that Steve Garvey won by 3.5 percentage points. Don't get tricked by this. Adam Schiff is obviously going to win both of these seats, both unexpired partial term and the full term. So that's going to be it for today's video. Come back for more results from both the Super Tuesday and going into this general election season. This is going to be certainly a very interesting year, 2024, and we'll make sure to make content for the entire ride. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.